Hey, if you're anything like me, the idea of tossing money at a piece of equipment that sounds like it belongs in a bank vault makes you pause. You don't want to splurge on a bill counter and sorter that ends up gathering dust while you keep counting cash by hand, right? You want that peace of mind that the machine actually does what it promises, fits into your workflow, and doesn't become another expense you regret. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So, let's break down why the CR2500 from Carnation Store might be the answer or why you could safely walk away. First off, this is not a tiny desk accessory, it's a full-scale counter and sorter that claims to handle mixed denominations, multiple currencies, and even spot counterfeit notes. For anyone who deals with a steady stream of cash, think small business owners, casino operators, currency exchangers, or even high-volume charitable organizations, time is money. Hand counting 1,000 notes at a rate of even 60 per minute adds up to over 15 minutes of work, plus the mental fatigue of double-checking each bundle. That's a real cost you can eliminate with a machine that runs at 1,000 to 1,200 notes per minute. Now, the real question is, does it deliver that speed without tripping up on the nuances of everyday cash handling? From the specs, the CR2500 uses multiple sensors for counterfeit detection, which is a step above the single sensor models that sometimes miss sophisticated forgeries. In practice, that means you can trust the device to catch common threats like altered watermarks or mismatched inks before the money gets into your drawer. The added printer component also prints a summary report, which is handy if you need an audit trail for accounting or compliance reasons. Imagine a charity that needs to report how many bills were processed each day. The printed logs give you that paperwork without a separate spreadsheet. Who should definitely consider this machine? If you're regularly processing more than a few thousand notes a week, the speed advantage alone starts to pay for itself. Multi-currency support is a game-changer for businesses that accept foreign cash. Think a tourist-focused shop in a border town or an online seller who also sells in person to international customers. The ability to handle up to 128 different currencies means you don't need to buy separate counters for each market, you just switch the settings and keep the line moving. On the flip side, if your cash flow is modest, say a boutique that sees a few $100s in cash a day, or you already have a simple, low-cost countertop sorter that meets your needs, the CR2500 may be overkill. The device is larger, requires a dedicated power source, and needs a bit of space on your counter. If your workspace is cramped, you'll have to factor that in. Also, the initial investment is higher than entry-level models. For a small coffee shop, allocating a few $100s to a mid-range counter might not make sense when the same staff can manually count those handfuls of bills without a noticeable delay. Let's talk about daily usability. The user interface is menu-driven, with a small LCD that walks you through the steps: load notes, select currency, choose sorting mode, and start counting. There's a learning curve, but because it's menu-based rather than a touchscreen, the controls stay reliable even in a bright shop environment. The machine also offers software updates via LAN, USB, or a simple UDISC, so as counterfeit techniques evolve, you can keep the detection algorithms current without needing to ship the unit back to the manufacturer. That flexibility matters for anyone who's concerned about staying ahead of sophisticated forgeries. One practical weakness that shows up when you imagine a real-world setup is the reliance on stable paper quality. In my experience with similar high-speed counters, crumpled or worn notes can cause jams. The CR2500 handles most standard conditions well, but if your cash comes from a source that tends to be heavily folded, say a flea market where bills get shoved into pockets, the sort and count process can stall. The machine does have an auto-reject feature that diverts problem notes, but you'll still need to spend a few minutes clearing the jam and rerunning the batch. That's not a deal-breaker, just a factor to consider if your cash isn't always pristine. Another subtle trade-off is noise. At full speed, the counters emit a noticeable whirring sound comparable to a printer humming in a quiet office. In a small retail space with customers nearby, that could be a mild distraction. However, the noise level is pretty typical for machines in this class, And many users report that the audible cue actually serves as a helpful indicator that the process is running smoothly. What about value beyond the headline specs? The real money saver here isn't just the counting speed. It's the reduction in human error. Even seasoned cashiers can miss a counterfeit note or miscount a bundle, especially after a busy shift. The CR2500's multi-sensor detection catches those slips before they become a loss. Furthermore, the printed reports provide an audit trail that can simplify end-of-day reconciliation and